Before you can build the business that supports the lifestyle you want to live, you need to understand what options are available to you, and more importantly, which of those options fit the unique lifestyle that you want to live. In this video, we're going to cover 6 different ways to start an online business and talk about the pros and cons of each to determine which of these are going to be a good fit for you. The first business that we're going to talk about today is going to be e-commerce. Now, e-commerce, for those who are not familiar, is the process of selling products online. And for the purposes of this video, we're going to be defining e-commerce as selling products that we have designed and developed ourselves. There are other ways to sell products online, which we'll get into later. However, for the purposes of this video, e-commerce is going to be defined by selling a product in which we ourselves have designed. Now, there are a number of pros that come with an e-commerce business that make it very appealing to new business owners. One in particular is that you're not going to be limited to a set service area, right? Unlike some service-based businesses, you're not going to be confined to a set region or location, an area in which you are licensed and insured in, or one that you can travel to in a reasonable amount of time. These products are going to be able to be offered nationwide very easily, if not globally very easily. Secondly, compared to a brick and mortar retail business, selling products online is going to be far cheaper. There's no paying rent for the building, no maintenance costs associated with running that building, cleaning costs for the office, etc. Insurance can be cheaper, right? Compared to a brick and mortar business, this is going to be the cheaper option to be able to offer your products to customers across the nation, right? However, there are going to be some costs that we'll get into that do make this a little bit more expensive than people typically make it out to be. Now, sticking with the pros, there is a huge amount of flexibility and convenience that you get by running an e-commerce business. You're going to be able to choose when you work, how often you work, and largely once you have this get set up, e-commerce businesses can be a set and forget type business because you're going to be able to hire or outsource a lot of this work. Now, I don't typically recommend outsourcing that work initially because you're going to be eating into your margins and it's going to take you longer to be able to generate the type of revenue that you're going to need to scale that business. Now, some of the cons associated with an e-commerce business, again, when it comes to designing and developing your own products, are going to be the upfront costs associated with not only designing that product, but also manufacturing it, shipping it, and storing it before you can even outsource that to customers. When you are designing a new product, you not only need the idea for that product, but you're also going to need to design a tech pack, which is going to help outline to manufacturers the specifications for your products, how they are going to need to be built. And these typically will cost upwards of a few $1,000s to develop with the help of a professional company. Now, once you have the tech pack done, you then need to go out and vet different manufacturers, right? So you're going to be finding out which one are going to build this to the highest quality, which ones are going to use the best materials, what the turnaround time is going to look like. You're going to need to pay attention to the location of those manufacturing facilities. A lot of these products can be designed and developed pretty cheaply in China. However, the shipping costs to get them from China to the US in this case are typically going to be very expensive. Now, once those are shipped to you, you still have to then store those products. And with all of that upfront cost, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to sell anything. When it comes to designing an e-commerce website to be able to offer these products, there are a number of technical challenges that you'll need to face as well. You'll not only need to design your typical homepage, about us page, contact style pages, but you're also going to need to upload products, product photos, product descriptions, any weights, options. You're going to need to track inventory, stock, that type of thing. So there's a lot more that goes into it from a technical challenge perspective as compared to a lot of other businesses that we're going to talk about today. In addition to designing the website, there's also going to be fulfillment and logistical problems that you're going to need to pay attention to. Where are you storing your products? What are your shipping costs going to look like? How are you going to deal with customer service, returns? You're going to be dealing with unhappy customers, potentially even for reasons that are outside of your control, like storage damage or inventory being lost during shipping, or the products not being built to the spec that you would hope for, and having customers then complain about it, right? So there are a number of cons that are not discussed enough when it talks about getting started with an e-commerce business. So I think that while there are a lot of pros, there are also quite a few cons, the biggest one being the enormous upfront cost required to get your products designed, developed, manufactured, shipped, stored, and everything prior to you even making your very first sale. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are other ways to sell products online. A great example of that would be our second business we're going to talk about today, which is affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is the process of selling someone else's products. And more specifically, we're going to be marketing someone else's products in exchange for a commission or percentage of that overall sale. What I love about affiliate marketing is that it has extremely low startup costs. Other than building out the website or a social media page, there's really not much else involved with this initially, right? Now, unlike selling your own products, you're not going to have to deal with customer support, fulfillment issues, that type of thing. All of that is going to be handled by the parent company. Your only job as an affiliate marketer is to position that product in front of customers who want to buy it, having them make the purchase, and then everything else is going to be handled by the parent company. But that's about where the pros stop when it comes to affiliate marketing. Typically, in these types of industries, you're going to have very high level of competition because of that low barrier to entry. Because you only need a website, you only need a social media page. This is oftentimes people's first venture into online businesses, and therefore you're going to be competing with a very large audience of other affiliate marketers. You're also going to have to rely on some form of existing affiliate programs, products that are already offered as affiliates for you to join and sell. Or you're going to need to deal with some form of negotiation and communication with vendors in order to be able to strike a deal to market their products for them. The commission structure is typically pretty bad when it comes to affiliate marketing. You're typically going to be looking at anywhere from about 5 to 15% on average, which is going to be quite small margins when you also factor in things like marketing costs, your time invested in going through that, designing and building a website, for example. So one of the big things when it comes to affiliate marketing is, in my opinion, it really only works at scale, right? So this means that a marketing and customer acquisition element is going to be essential and is usually going to eat into quite a bit of margin. So if you're selling, 500 to 1,000, 10,000 products a month with this, you're going to be able to still see a sizable income from this because of the sheer volume you're dealing with. However, getting started when you're dealing with 5, 10, 15 sales a month, there's really not going to be a lot of return on that initial investment. So again, these are very low barrier to entry businesses. However, high levels of competition and also very low margins to be working with, especially when it comes to advertising, that kind of thing. Now, drop shipping or arbitrage are other options for you to sell someone else's products, but you're going to be taking on more of the actual, sale of these products rather than just offering, or rather than just positioning these products in front of these customers. You're going to have to go through the full sale process. Now, you're not going to have to go through the fulfillment. That's still going to be handled by the parent company. However, you're going to have to go and build a website, list these products on there. You're going to have to do the same thing as an e-commerce business: product photos, descriptions, that type of thing. Now, most of this information you're going to be able to glean directly from the manufacturer. However, due to the high level of competition associated with drop shipping businesses, you're going to typically need to go above and beyond what that manufacturer is doing in order for you to justify the additional costs associated with that. You're going to see higher profits than you would with affiliate marketing because you're going to have more control over the price and what you're actually able to sell this for. However, like affiliate marketing, you're not going to have any control over the products in terms of how they are manufactured, how they are shipped, what the quality of that is like when the customer actually gets it. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems that are out of your control a lot of the time, right? Secondly, when it comes to drop shipping or arbitrage, you're also going to be relying on inventory and stock availability from that parent company. And again, due to that high level of competition, this means that if one of your competitors is selling a huge volume of products, eating into the overall available inventory that that parent company has access to, you yourself are going to be limited on the actual, maximum profit you can generate because there's only so many products to sell and there's going to be a bunch of other people selling them. Now, arbitrage is very similar to drop shipping in the sense that you're selling someone else's product. However, arbitrage is almost a combination between e-commerce and affiliate marketing or drop shipping, right? With arbitrage, you're going to be actually upfront purchasing another company's products, in which you're then going to be able to turn around and offer them for a higher margin. Now, just like drop shipping, because of the level of competition associated with this, you're typically going to need to go above and beyond what that manufacturer is doing in order for you to justify those additional costs. With that high level of competition, you're typically going to run into price battles where someone can undercut you, sell your product for a smaller margin, but therefore steal more of the market share as a result. This can result in a race to the bottom, which can make these margins very thin. So you need to find some form of unique selling point that you can offer that your competitors don't in order for you to justify that additional cost. Now, steering away from products themselves, I really like to do more of the service-based type businesses, right? Offering a service in which I can fulfill to customers. Now, there's two real types of service-based businesses. There is your local service, right? Your plumbers, HVACs, window washers, etc., who are going to be tied to a set service area. This gives you additional reach in those service areas and an easier access to clients. However, it doesn't give you the ability to necessarily reach a wider audience. It just allows you to reach that audience easier. Now, there are service based businesses like web designers, marketers, that type of thing, who are going to have the freedom of location to offer that. And they are going to be able to offer their services to a wider range of people than they would if they were tied to a set business location. You're typically going to see lower startup costs compared to a brick and mortar service, although depending on the industry you get into, there could still be some pretty significant upfront costs. If you're looking at plumbers, you still have to have a truck to sell. You still need to basically be running a brick and mortar business. You're just going to be able to offer that a lot more conveniently to customers online. Now, when it comes to, your software as a service or your web designers, your marketers, those types of services that can be offered, those ones are going to have great location independence, meaning I can work wherever, whenever, and be able to reach those customers. You're going to see reduced operational complexities because, again, there's no office, no rent, no maintenance, no cleaning fees associated with that, right? So, in general, it's going to be a simpler way of offering these same services to customers. Now, service-based businesses aren't without their own cons. Typically, you're going to run into a lack of face-to-face interaction. If customers are going to be able to find you online, especially when it comes to your plumbers, HVAC, those types of guys, it's easier for you to sell those types of products face-to-face with the customer, where you can build rapport, let customers know who you are, etc., and kind of build that relationship from there, as opposed to them just reading a description off your website. Now, when it comes to service based businesses, the biggest thing that I always harp on with these customers is that your website is not your business. Just because you set up a website that is going to be accessible to customers does not mean that customers are going to access that website. So, there is going to be a heavy client acquisition and marketing component to this, which is going to be required in order for you to see any real meaningful success here. Opening a website or starting a website is very similar to opening a brick and mortar business. And if you're not doing any of the marketing associated with that, you can equate that to opening a brick and mortar business in a back alley with no street facing view, so that customers are going to have a very difficult time to find you. Those who already know what they're looking for, or those who already know how to find you, will be able to do so. However, you're not going to be able to reach that wider audience of people who do not yet know they need the services that you provide. Secondly, when it comes to service based businesses, there is going to be a dependence on technology here because that client acquisition and marketing element is so important here. There is going to be, the need for you to understand how your website works, how SEO works, how Google Business works, and a number of other platforms that you're going to need to engage in order to position your business in front of these customers, right? Now, the dependence on technology can also be applied to online businesses like drop shipping, arbitrage, e-commerce, etc. So those aren't necessarily free from those. However, there are more avenues for you to typically offer those products, like selling on Amazon, for example, as opposed to building your own website. So when it comes to service-based businesses, there's kind of an additional layer of that dependence on technology, which I don't want to go ignored. Now, next one we want to talk about is going to be your consulting type business, right? So these, in my opinion, are the best businesses that you can run online because they have just about the highest profit margins of any business. There's almost no overhead associated with running them. There's no manufacturing costs, no tech packets that have to be developed, no inventory costs, no shipping fees, no rent, no maintenance, no cleaning fees for the building you're going to be running. There's huge flexibility and convenience. I can work from when I want to be able to service these clients. There's really good scalability because you have a lot bigger margins to work with. Because you don't have a lot of that overhead, you're going to be able to take home a much higher percentage of sales. And therefore, you're going to have an easier time reinvesting that to grow the business, right? And another great thing about the consulting side of things is that you're removing yourself from the client implementation process. Those who are selling a product need to deal with customer service. Those who are providing a service need to actually fulfill that service. When it comes to consulting, you're merely providing your expertise for that customer to then go implement on their own. Now, consulting businesses aren't without their own cons. Very similar to service based businesses, there's going to be a client acquisition and marketing component, which is going to be absolutely required. And when it comes to consulting, there's a unique layer of how you position yourself as an expert in order to convert these customers and kind of build the business that they want to be able to be associated with, right? You're still going to have a high dependence on technology, very similar to the other industries. However, I feel that the cons associated with a consulting business do not outweigh the pros and is really going to be like your end goal type service that you can get to, right? Now, the last business we're going to talk about today is content creation. There are some great pros, but some serious cons associated with this one as well. The first being there's extremely low startup costs, right? Other than the website or the social media page that you're going to develop, there's not much that you're going to need to invest in order to get this started. Now, when it comes to content creation, sky is the limit. You have, content creators like Mr. Beast who are spending millions of dollars per, video that they put out, but you also have content creators who are just using an iPhone and their internet connection in order to create content and reach the masses as well. So there's a huge range of what is available to you. However, on the low end, there are extremely low startup costs associated with that. There are tons of flexibility and control, even more so than you would get from a service-based e-commerce business or even consulting business, because I can create that content whenever I want, however I want, and I'm not going to be dependent on either business operating hours, when you can work out with clients, etc. All of that is going to be dependent on whenever you feel motivated to create that content. There is some huge potential with monetization when it comes to content creation because you can basically be an affiliate marketer, a drop shipper, a service provider all in one. It all depends on what type of content you put out there and how you're positioning that in front of those customers. Now, there are some pretty glaring cons that come with content creation businesses, one being the intense competition. With this being such a low barrier to entry, you're competing with everyone from the Mr. Beasts who have millions of dollars to invest per episode, all the way down to the guy who has a iPhone 4 from 15 years ago that he's recording videos on and posting them online, right? It's going to be very labor intensive getting started because all of that content you need to create yourself. You can outsource that out, cut into your margins, but that runs into some of the other problems, which is going to be early monetization challenges associated with this. In order for you to really generate money on ad revenue, to secure brand deals, to really, take advantage of that monetization aspect of being an affiliate marketer, drop shipping service provider, you need to generate an audience. And generating that audience in and of itself is no simple feat. You're going to have to constantly learn and adapt to new algorithm changes, what's trending now, what's important, what are clients paying attention to. And there are a number of unique mental challenges associated with coming up with new ideas, fresh content, finding your voice, dealing with, the early unbalanced effort to return ratio associated with content creation. However, with content, if you stick to it and you create a wide enough net to cast out, it's almost inevitable that you are going to see success with this. So, whether you're starting an e commerce business, a service based business, a consulting business, or just creating content, there are a number of pros and cons to each of these which need to be analyzed and compared to your unique situation to determine which of these business models are going to be the best to build the lifestyle that you want to live.